Hello to all you wonderful people out there watching this video and that also want to improve their English speaking skills. If you are unfortunate enough to have to try to do this task alone, then believe me, I understand how difficult that really is. But keep watching, because by the end of this video, you are going to obtain 2 valuable guidance tips on how to make your task much easier. Firstly, I'm going to teach you how to start improving your thinking in English, which makes your conversation ability much easier and much more enjoyable. Oops. Do I hear people saying, impossible, you're never ever going to get me thinking in English? Well, actually, very, very shortly, I'm going to prove to you that you're wrong. And I'll prove to you also that the majority watching this video are already thinking in English. Secondly, I'm going to give you some very valuable guidance on how to start improving your English speaking easily. I promise. Just by improving your English speaking ability constructively and logically, you will see improvements of your ability very, very quickly. So if this is the sort of assistance you think you're needing and it's going to help, then let's go. So to start, let me ask you a few questions. What is your name? How old are you? Where were you born? What country do you come from? What city do you live in? Did you find these questions difficult? Did you have to really think about the answers? Probably not. And why not? It's because this is simple English that you already understand, and your brain and mind can handle these without any difficulty, and you're thinking in English and you're responding in English. Nothing is confusing, it's easy. By building your vocabulary and using it, your mind does not require you to keep relating it back to your native language. It understands the vocabulary that you're using and can respond to it. It becomes as easy as, what is your name? You're thinking in English. So even just to summarize on what we're saying, if you want to build your thinking in English, you build your vocabulary. You practice it, you use it, your understanding becomes better, and your thinking in English comes along at the same rate. That is one problem to which we already know the solution. Get your vocabulary sorted out, and you will get your thinking sorted out. Now we know how we're going to develop our English thinking. Let us now look at how we're going to develop our English speaking. And we do that by improving our vocabulary, building a vocabulary up, getting a lot more words in our mind and knowing how to use them, and developing the grammar, the glue that binds everything together and gets our conversation flowing. If we approach this the right way and maybe follow the way I'm going to suggest it to you, you might actually find this fun, but it does take you to be devoted to actually improving it yourself. The first exercise I'm going to suggest to you to help start building this vocabulary is, what do you see? What do you see all around you every day? When you're in your room or your apartment or your house, what items surround you when you get up in the morning, etc.? Do you know their names in English? If you don't, find them out. And every time you look at that item, if you're looking at the fridge, yes, that's the fridge or the refrigerator, but we call it a fridge. These are the cupboards. These are the drawers. This is my bedroom, this is my bed, this is my pillows. Let's start learning all these items. It's a very super way of improving your vocabulary regularly, just getting to know the everyday items that you're surrounded by in your apartment, in your school, in your canteen. Everywhere you go, you want to be looking at, trying to think, what is that called in English? It's a motorbike, it's a motor car, it's a lorry, it's a van. It's all these items are going to help you tremendously to build up basic vocabulary that you can use and see all the time. It's items that are in your field of view every single day. I'd like to tell you the way I like to guide my students in practicing talking on their own, and that is standing in front of a mirror and watching themselves talking. It may seem strange at first, but you'll soon get used to it, and think about it, you're actually watching yourself progressing, which is great. Pay particular attention to your face and your lips, etc., and the way your mouth moves, particularly when you're speaking words that you're finding difficult to pronounce. By watching this, you'll be able to improve and get much better at the speaking of these sort of words. If you can, record yourself on your smartphone. That way you can listen back. If you've heard the vocabulary you're using, if you've heard it spoken by someone else, this gives you the opportunity to listen to yourself. And does it sound the same? If not, keep practicing until you're happy that it sounds very similar, the way you're pronouncing it, to the way you've heard. Excellent. You really want to try and immerse yourself in English. There's many ways you can do that. Looking online, TEDx talks, there's so many interesting TEDx talks there that there must be some that appeals to you. It's a very good one to follow. English news briefs. Try and listen to English news briefs from different countries in the world, Australia, New Zealand, America, UK. That gives you different accents also. Podcasts, whatever your interests. If you search online, you will find podcasts that talk about what interests you most. And this next one, I'd like you to listen to this because it's absolutely exceptional. These everyday English recordings, you really, really want to try and follow these as regularly as you can.
Hello, welcome to the English Easy Practice course Conversations Practices. Now, you will listen to some daily English conversations in different places and situations. Thus, you will learn vocabulary and improve your English listening and speaking skills. Let's get started. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Are you enjoying your stay at our hotel?
Yes, I am. The staff is very polite and our room is lovely. My wife and I are having a great time.
I am happy to hear that. Can I help you with anything this morning?
Yes, you can. My wife and I want to go out for lunch today. Can you recommend a nice restaurant?
Of course. What kind of food do you and your wife want to eat?
My wife is a vegetarian, so we want to eat something with a lot of vegetables.
Do you eat fish?
Yes, we eat fish.
Do you like spicy food?
My wife likes spicy food, but I do not.
What about a Japanese restaurant? Their menu includes rice and fish. They also have many vegetables dishes. There are some spicy dishes and some non-spicy dishes.
That sounds good.
What's really important is to try and listen to things that interest you. It makes all the difference and it keeps it entertaining. And also, don't just listen to it. Listen to the vocabulary closely and try and follow it and copy it. That's one of the secrets. Let's talk about vocabulary. Vocabulary is an absolute essential part, and I would suggest having an action plan on how to progress your vocabulary. You know, you can look at various thesauruses and dictionaries and all the rest of it, but I think, as we've already discussed, you need to think about getting your vocabulary from areas where you can hear people actually speaking the vocabulary, i.e. the podcast, TED Talks, whatever, and making a note of the vocabulary as you hear it, practicing it, and making sure you're pronouncing it the way that others pronounce it. I strongly recommend to all my students about setting up on flashcards, and flashcards, making a manual set of flashcards, or getting one of these many programs that you get on software programs you get for your telephone or your computer that can produce the flashcards for you. But I have a specific way I like to teach my students on how to use the flashcards, and it's been incredibly successful up to now, and I would like you to look at it, and maybe you would be very happy to adopt it also, because it is important. Okay, before I move on to discussing the flashcards themselves, I just want to talk to you about your vocabulary, what you might not know. Everyone has an active vocabulary and a passive vocabulary. And what do we mean by active and passive vocabularies? Well, your active vocabulary is your vocabulary that you are very conversant with, you know how it's to be used, and you can use it very effectively in your conversations. And this is the sort of vocabulary you can use while you're thinking in English. Now, your passive vocabulary is a lot of vocabulary you may have accumulated, but you've not really had a chance to use it, and you're not really sure on how to use it. You maybe, if somebody's speaking and you hear them using vocabulary that you understand sort of, and you can make out the conversation, but you wouldn't dare use it yourself, and you're just not used to how to apply it to conversations, that would be your passive vocabulary. And the more passive vocabulary you can transfer to your active vocabulary, the better. And you do that by practicing your vocabulary, knowing how it's used, and knowing in what situations you can use it. And very easily you can build your active vocabulary significantly and into the passive vocabulary, but you will still hopefully be picking up more passive vocabulary as well that you can work on at a later stage. So that's our active and passive vocabularies. Now let's have a look at the flashcards. Okay, now let's move on to the flashcards themselves. You know, the way I like to see students use the flashcards, and the way that I've seen it work so well, is when they have the flashcards and it's actually in a card form, a thick paper form or whatever like that. I'm not aware of any flashcard software that you can have a front and a back, but I could be wrong. It's up to you to do the research. But this is the way I like to teach my students to use flashcards. Okay, they get a word and they want to add it to their vocabulary list. In this particular instance, you can see the word is reliability. So, reliability is the noun. So I then encourage them to look up the verb, the adjective, and the adverb and get them written down as well. We want the definition of the word, and the definition of reliability is the quality of being trustworthy or of performing consistently well. Yeah, reliably. So a sample sentence on the front: the age of the car raises concern for the reliability on long journeys. So it's an old car and it raises concern for its reliability on long journeys. Easily understood. So that's the front of the card, all filled in very nicely. Now let us discuss the back of the card, which is probably even more important, well, equally important, let's say equally important. Once again, on the back of the card, we put the words, which in this case was reliability, but then sample sentences. And these sample sentences, I ask my students to make themselves so they fully understand the way the word needs to be used, and by using it in their sentences, they'll understand it more. So in this particular instance, you can see quartz watches are known for their reliability. Excellent. The reliability of weather reports cannot be guaranteed. Good. I don't like to rely on people I have not met. Good. All of these you can see, you can use the nouns, the verbs, the adverbs, etc., or the adjectives, just to make yourself comfortable with how to use it. And if you get them in and you're happy with them, then put them on the pile. And then the next part is revising your cards regularly. Absolutely must. Very, very important. Revise a few every day if you can. And once you're very confident with using some of these words, then you can put them back further back in your pile of cards and concentrate on the words that you're not quite so up to date with, or new words that you've just added. And that way you will really get these vocabulary words into your active vocabulary. Just by filling the card in, actually, you're probably placing it well into your passive vocabulary, and that's very, very good as well. That's positive progress in improving your vocabulary. Well, there we are. Hopefully you've got a few helpful guidance tips to improving your English speaking. Just a thought, you know all these airline pilots that fly all these hundreds of jets, thousands of jets all over the world every day. Most of them start their training in a flight simulator, which is a computer room that's nothing like the aircraft itself, but it controls the same. And that's where they learn the controls and the skills and what everything should be done to pull it all together. But it's not until they actually get out and start flying the aircraft that they actually get the full skill of using it. If you're learning English by yourself, then you really are in a very similar situation, in that you can learn all about that. You can increase your vocabulary and you can practice as much as you can by yourself, but until you get out and you're actually using the language itself, you're actually conversing with other people, you're involving yourself in conversations, then that's when you can really say, yes, hey, I can speak English, no problem. I would strongly urge you to try and find like-minded people like yourself online if you're going to have to do it alone, but try and find yourself with maybe some of these self-learning groups or that are around. I'm sure if you search, you'll find them, people that are equally willing to try and speak English with you to mutually improve each other. I would urge you to try that and to do it as soon as you can. I don't recommend that you get involved with any of these online YouTube English courses, because they really are quite cumbersome courses, and many times they give you a lot of documentation and they give you a lot of videos, but really they only give you very minimal support, and they leave it really up to yourself where you are right now, possibly. And that's not the way to progress your English at a good speed. I do recommend getting teacher tutors like myself, who will give you full guidance, will converse with you, and will give you the feedback to let you know how you are. And as I say, the guidance to where the direction you should be going, which is all important. Even if it's only 1 or 2 lessons a month, it would be very, very, very beneficial to your progressing in English. Anyway, Thank you very, very much for watching this video. Please, if you would, I'd like you to subscribe and like and ring the bell and maybe share it if you can. That would be much appreciated and help my channel going on. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.